Chapter 6. She fetishized it, gave it a name, this being strictly private, as it was too embarrassing. Up close and personal, she poured it like a lover, more so than the man she shared the apartment with. She regarded it an extension of her body, more so than her stick-on butterfly wing lashes. The colour of its retina screen weaponizing it like a hypodermic needle. She could rely on its efficacy, its potency to seduce, deliver dopamine, especially its deadly capacity to deliver selfies like an OCD warped feedback loop. She didn't trust her fidget widget fingers, yet bold, cloying, illuminating colours made her want to touch, click and tap it. She cold turkey resolved that it must be neutered, must be made safer. I don't trust myself with it. A pact had to be made with herself. Grayscale mode became her saviour. It subdued optic nerve compulsions. No more bright, shiny jelly bean icons and intrusive, vibrating notifications. No more blood-engorged digi-erect clitzer. No more temptation into virtual worlds where face recognition credit card purchases were just a nanosecond snap. Grayscale screen was less rewarding. Its monochrome, a cold turkey digital detox that allowed her to take control of her obsessive-compulsive device. Her attention span had become short. The competition for euphoric likes on the curdling stew of social media had dominated her life. Her emotions bobbed like an anxiety cork on currents of curated feed, an insatiable need to virally reach out and grow her streaming and social base on autopilot algorithms, intent on exploding her profile on myriad platforms. Now, with no arousing reactive red colour notifications alerting her with a tally of likes and shares and comments, she questioned what they represented to her. These numbers in red were palpable, like in her bloodstream. The likes that the apps rewarded her with had become a competition that tethered her nervous system to her device, requiring her to check in, take her pulse from public feedback approval. Sometimes she felt stalked by her device, wanted to slap its face like a snarky lover. After 6 weeks lockdown, chained to social media, it was levying a psychic tax on Cindy. Posting brought nervous anticipation of comments and likes. It bugged her when she didn't get a certain amount of likes, and when there was none, she felt deflated. The most savage were spirit-crushing, unwarranted buzzkill responses, and outright nasty, jealous evil from the trolls that were like stabs to the stomach. Her well-being was dangerously defined by approval clicks on her status posts. Her best tally of likes were when she used her device like a mirror to propel product-endorsed selfies that functioned like payload missiles of herself blasted into feeds. The endorphin rush of red color notification likes delivered an algorithmic rush. She overrode the knowledge that many of these likes were quite likely fake, generated by bots bound to algorithm accelerants. Selfies reaping the highest red number of likes, true to form of one platform's original social network intent to rate girls at uni. The likes became a warping self-worth mirror, compensating for a complicated, lonely heart. As Helmut became more and more remote, distant and inhospitable, escaping into gaming, with no relationship besides the fog of a gaslit one, Cindy sought solace with that which she was most intimate, her device. I know I shouldn't, but I just can't help myself, she told herself. Having it close to me while sleeping is so comforting. But her fetish gadget in grayscale mode rendered it less huggable, its drab utilitarian appearance lessening its appeal, allowing her to disengage from compulsive habitual infatuations that it seduced her with. At the beginning, she'd gotten sucked into social media's emancipatory power. It was so easy to stay connected with friends and find lost ones and meet new ones, and the snap to post quickly and often. Pictures pinged higher yields of likes, the most potent being selfies, but the likes such posts generated made her question approval distorting self-objectification, like they were filling a hole inside of her, like mining emotional sap from social approval derived from instant clicks, its secretive manipulative mechanisms, a digital feedback loop like continually being on a drug drip. A technological matrix drip that not only masks scary self-doubting feelings, but also monitoring and mapping her keystrokes. OCD self-diagnosis filled her with pathological dread, which she was in denial of. It drove a wretched narcissism, an impossible overcompensation of a morbid body image, a dysmorphia that was the most tormenting of private bondages. A life driven to thrive on admiration, masking a wound of shame that felt impossible to heal, a feeling of inadequacy that drove her to be as beautiful as high-tech enhanced possible. Always behind a mask that never sleeps in a world that is perpetual competition for approval. Drop dead gorgeousness, guaranteed irresistible magnetism. On social media, she was in an alt reality. It compelled her into a side hustle that massively mushroomed. Narcissistic neurodivergence could thrive as an influencer. She generated multi-K likes and shares to sustain internal validation under the guise of wellness beauty product endorsements. Though, if ever sources of external validation ran out, she was prone to the clutches of a dark place when her personal private deficit of well-being sunk dangerously low. She self-sabotaged. Like in succumbing to secretive ghost conversations with a device, her darling device saying, "Come on, baby, check out these likes and comments. Let me take some more photos of you. You look so hot today." To which Cindy would rebut, "I really shouldn't. You never make me feel good after." Her device saying, "Come on, don't be like that. Your followers want you, need you. Just one selfie won't hurt." She'd want to do reckless, impulsive things. "I hate myself," she'd say to herself. Buzzing bees of self-harm ideation would swarm ahead. She'd embark on spending binges, hammer herself in substance abuse, beholden to the power of the face. She'd tribally rant online under an avatar handle. These venting outbursts elicited captive audience sympathies akin to candid reality TV tropes. Obsessive use of her device allowed it to set up shop in her nervous system, with the internet transplanted into her brainstem. As deeply troubling as it was a lifeline. Besides addictive behavior conditioned by reward loops of likes, she was perturbed by deep fakes and feeds and wondered why she wasn't seeing all her friends' posts. Red flags had appeared after the Cambridge Analytical scandal broke. She learned what cookies were up to with the siphoning of private data via Facebook's pixel that clocked every online click and finger-hovering moment, not just on the platform, but the entire internet. Personal data was not only being extracted and auctioned off to advertisers, but also updating an illegitimate virtual reality profile of users for purposes they were unaware of. The extent of profiling of her clicking and swiping and scrolling compulsiveness left her feeling sickeningly dependent and trapped. She reminded herself that the bogeyman hysteria of scroll hole social media and hard right press got the incendiary president elected, as well as the Brexit vote over the line. Further to the mirage of untruths in the big tech fantasy life of her online identity, the most elaborately concocted delusion to herself was the tyranny of an undermining PTSD that contributed to a less than healthy codependency with the father of her child. The truth decay about her relationship was like an inverse confirmation bias. She had applied filter bubble echo chambers that were hardwired to infantile feelings. Sediments of early life in the pit of her gut that would spike, setting off circuit breakers sparked by nerve spasms shooting up her spleen, triggering a shrill siren that only she could hear, alerting an emotional emergency requiring evasive action for purposes of safety and protection. Susceptible to power and control asymmetries of who needs who more, Cindy was triggered by the Me Too meme that sent her rushing to unpack her head with her hair rapist shrink, lest she sink into a black dog from attrition with helmet and device codependency that earned her a living, which was gnawing her to shreds like being titillated by eye candy goldfish that suddenly was capable of turning into piranha. Cantankerous was the name on a patinaed sign out front of a ramshackle dive with a braided brickwork on Riggerstrasse in a squatted building in Friedrichshain, East Berlin. It was where Helmut Haller, wearing a No Gods, No Masters t-shirt blazoned with a fist image, who was weathering midlife cataclysms, should have been tamping coffee and tapping beers if he wasn't in his happy place fingering paint onto canvas stapled to a wall of his studio with electronic body music blaring. A contrarian armpit attitude joint, Cantankerous was where disenfranchised anarchist punks clad in slashed black threads hung. Within its demi-monde vapors, alienated tribalism was freely vented. Heavily tattooed warriors, inured to all that was wrong in the world, bonded in an inalienable creed of community is immunity. All shared suspicions, fears, and resentments of a Welshmer's world pain, which sought expression in parties, street protests, and spray can graffiti sorties on buildings, many of which Haller executed hanging precariously off of them. The world was killing him. He wanted to escape. Every few seconds his social meds feed was loaded with a fresh batch of disorientation and dread. After 6 weeks incarcerated in lockdown, cabin pressure had warped the wallboards of the apartment. Short bursts of jogging, a release from confinement, plus online Mortal Kombat gaming could not prevent him from boiling over. A fuming misanthrope, he was adamant that the pandemic was a sinister, orchestrated plot. He sought refuge on the dark web, where he was susceptible to rampant disinformation and conspiracy theories as he searched for answers. The dark web underbelly was rife with hate of every uncensored description that included guns, drugs, explosives, illicit items, child porn, Nazi misogynists, and murderers for hire. After the wall came down, lifestyle malcontents of cranky denizens at Cantankerous jumped on the emancipatory, decentralized, uncensored connectivity of the internet, which gave them a voice that resonated with like-minded people. The full nature of its power, its ability to shatter any semblance of shared reality, undermine civil society and democratic governance, was impossible to imagine. The internet enabled anonymous individuals to reach masses with warped shared realities that allowed them to live stream machine gun mass murder in mosques and promote the idea that a tech giant wants to microchip implants to fight coronavirus. Free speech on the net had allowed the promotion of violence based on prejudice, proclaiming a great awakening that will occur when the moment arrives, as apparently it has, with the contagion of the microbe. Susceptible raw nerves of hysterical imaginings ran rabid with the darkest plots. Horror screenplay games spread lightning fast on the net encouraged by partisan media and disinformation promulgated by fake reality demagogues. Helmut sought comfort from a jaundiced relationship to regular society. Art and music was succor for a ravaged nervous system throttled by a vivid imagination. Having endured the dystopia of the German Democratic Republic, he was forced to grapple with how ideas rubbed up against each other, how conflicting feelings might be mapped through art. Despite harassment he received in East Germany, he was sympathetic to socialism. As a smart-ass teen, his imaginative absurdisms were in defiance of the state. East Berlin Art School repudiated his wild, grotesque expressiveness, regarding it debauched compared to sanctioned realism of state propaganda. Being objectable lit his fuse. He reactively asserted himself with intensified colour and raw fragmented forms that were energizing, like crash chords of punk music. After the wall came down, his subversions fixated on the status quo. Dark spaces became his domain. Everything paradoxical and schizophrenic. Everything reactionary and progressive. Everything decadent, ironic and fascist. Everything that had a burning existential quest. Everything undergirded by the trauma of alienation, living in a claustrophobic Cold War of imposed uniformity. The pithy turpitude of his paintings blazed bright on the island of West Berlin in galleries and public spaces, including techno dance floors in warehouses and squats in subterranean clubs and World War II bunkers. After the collapse of the wall in 1989, East Berlin buildings were squatted by West Berlin counterculture, turning them into alternative play spaces. Helmut found his people in the unifying tribalism of East mingled with West in celebratory rave culture that raged for 3 years after unification. Any whiff of Nazi infogeddon intent on fanning paranoia made Berliners puke. The annihilating stench of it was not so long ago in its traumatized collective psyche. After the war, many East Germans, initially enamored by the sparkle of Western capitalism and triumph of liberal democracy, quickly became disillusioned by its corporate disparities. Memes like "nothing can stop what is coming" embroiled a battle between good and evil. The notion of an open web for the people stacked against a gated internet controlled by the powerful few, tracking users digitally, extracting data and maximizing profits by dependency on search engines, maps, Q codes and social media platforms, all cunningly, increasingly monetized. Helmut's bio was vexed by snitching, wretched cookies that clocked his every move online and programmed AI to blitz him with intrusive ads, feeling trapped in binary code to the extent that his digital DNA behavior was clickstream profiled, made him not want to touch a device ever again. All the while, for Cindy, as an influencer, data was all about algorithmic optimization to nudge her followers' behavior. Vloggers and bloggers, banned from social media, congregated in the shady backblocks of the dark web, where white supremacists incubated in forums of hate, reveling in a G-force of self-torment. Helmut rode algorithms of psychosis that spiraled down rabbit holes into slippery dope conspiracy land of seductive spaces. Hiding his identity using anonymous browser Tor, he engaged in flame wars with the manifesto of alt-right trolls on forum notice boards. Massively encrypted, unsearchable and uncensored, the dark web was the shady domain of extremists of all persuasions, one claiming to be a time-travelling militant Shaolin monk known as Nesbod9 recently posted. Most of the rubes are unwitting tools of something or someone. Mostly they are tools of murder, ruck, zuck, suck, fake. book, zapple, net, fix, gobble, spew, tube, bezo, glut, sick, talk, flitter, come, X, which is the blackest dark evil that has ever stalked this sphere. Some of us willing to choose tools of Gaia to heal the planet. Some of us willing to choose the tools of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The most important thing to keep paramount in our mind is we still have choices. We are not dumb fucks to be commodified and manipulated. The last battleground in the war on the human soul would be the evolution and effort to try and understand, predict, and read human thought. What is thought? Where in the human body is it located? Can it be generated? Can it be annihilated? Can it be controlled? And most importantly of all, can it be bought and sold? This is the new tech that the Dark Lords murder, ruck, zuck, suck, fake, book, zapple, net, fix, gobble, spew, tube, bezo, glut, sick, talk, flitter, come, X are frantically trying to perfect. Will they succeed? This is the last frontier of human conflict. Can thought be commodified? Will they succeed? Mercury rules health, medicine, and systems in place to treat disease. Mercury is working with thee for Gaia. She's really pissed at the moment, has grabbed the caduceus of Mercury and using it as a psychic cleansing laser scalpel. Capitalism always buys alternative technologies and cultures and dumbs them down. The blues began as field hollers of enslaved cotton pickers, and now it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Same with hippies. When the buzz spilled onto the hate, the dope dealers and record companies commodified it. Johnny Rotten buttoned himself up, sold out, turned hard right. Same with micro, macro, henchmen, Gates, and what seemed a free, benevolent information tool for all. Sold out. It is my firm belief that the tech industry now is the greatest manifestation and coagulation of forces of evil that this planet to date has witnessed. Every man has his price. That still holds good for today. But not me. I cannot be bought. And this is why I am so dangerous.